Hi and welcome to another video, and today we're going to be taking a look at the Razer Viper Mini firmware version 1.03. Now I did do a video showing version 1.01.02 and a few people have said there's a late version 1.03 that fixes the LOD issue as well, so today we're going to take a look at that. If you haven't already taken a look at my other firmware versions, there's one with a tape mod as well as Synapses, and then there's this later one that we just said at 1.1. where we updated and then tested the lift-off distance, and it did seem to work. So now we're just going to confirm this is also working on 1.03. So I'll put a link in the description to this latest firmware. You're going to have to update your Razer Viper to this latest firmware. What you need to do is plug in your Razer Viper, run the exe, and then it will detect the version of firmware you're on, and then you just click update and it'll go away and update it. Once you've completed that, I normally just reboot my PC to make sure it's taken. The Synapses doesn't generally open once the firmware software has been used. Once it's done here, you can see it's working here on this Helios pad here. We put it on one DVD, and you'll see here it's also tracking, which on version 1.01 it didn't, which is what you want. That's a low lift-off distance. But on this one, you can see it's still tracking even with one DVD. Not the result we were looking for. Maybe in the software you can change that. Let's try 2 DVDs just to see if anything's changed. The standard lift-off distance for the Viper Mini is above 2 DVDs. So far no difference to the LOD. In fact, it's reversed it from the 1.102 that we did firmware. So I'm just going to get a bit of a different try here. I'm going to try it on the Razer Gigantus V2 because it's a cloth surface to see if there's any difference, and again it's tracking fine. We then put it on one DVD and it still tracks. The lift-off distance again is still a problem here. Try 2 DVDs just to make sure, see if there's a bit of a difference in height here, but again you can see it tracks again, so it's back to the default one. Let's just check the software here, see if there's any adjustment for lift-off distance. There isn't any default adjustments. What we can do again is we can go into the calibration of the mouse surface and we can change the surface here, which we're going to do. Again, we didn't have to do this for 1.01.02. We're going to give it a try here on this 1.03 version and see whether it makes any difference. So we generally pick the bottom one, which is the Postal V2 hard surface. We'll give it a try. Default liftoff is 1 anyway. Give it a test here on the Helios hard surface because I don't have one of those. And you can see here it's tracking as you'd expect. No problems there. By one DVD, and it has resolved the lift-off distance here, but I wouldn't leave too early because there are some bits to check still. But you can see here it has stopped that issue, so now the LOD is down where we'd expect it to be, which is good here. So if you've got a harder surface, you're going to have to calibrate it again with the surface calibration and try and see which one works best for you. On default, we're back here again, you can see with a high lift-off distance. So it definitely makes a difference here if we use this Postal V2 hard. So what I've done here as well is I've brought out the Razer Gigantus again, V2, and you can see here one of the problems I'm having is it does not track on this setting. So even though it tracked on the Helios, it's not tracking on the Gigantus here using this Postal V2 hard here. So I cannot use this, it's literally got some tracking issues. You don't want to do that. And with one DVD, you can see it still tracks anyway, even though it's not tracking with no DVDs. There's a bit of a tracking issue on it. So what I'm going to do now is going to pick the Razer Gigantus V1 surface here. There is no V2. Unfortunately, I don't know why, given I've got the V2 pad here. Maybe Synapses just hasn't updated their software yet. We're going to try out the standard Gigantus, and again I've got a similar issue here where tracking's okay, not a problem. Certainly improved than the other hard version, but again the lift-off distance is still above 1 DVD, so no improvement here for lift-off. So no point in using this calibration setting here. Try 2 DVDs to see if it makes any difference whatsoever, and no, still tracks with 2 DVDs. So back to default really, I would say. So we're going to try now, we're going to try the Postal V2 cloth here. And we're just going to see if it makes any difference, because this seems to be the common one that seems to give the best lift-off distance results. And let's see if we can improve it for the cloth here. See if we can use it. So again, tracks fine on the cloth now this time again. And on one DVD, again, it still tracks, so it makes no difference. So the results here are that on the hard surface, you're going to get some lower lift-off distance, but if you're using a cloth surface on the firmware 1.3, you can have the same issues here. So for me, if it was my choice, I would update if I can to 1.01.02, see if it affects my lift-off distance on both hard and cloth, and then if I'm finding that that's fine, I wouldn't update further. If I'm finding that hasn't improved it for me, then I'd update to 1.03.00, which is this later version, and I'd see if I can get the calibration to work through Synapses. So if this helps. If you haven't already, check out my other videos. I've done loads on the Razer Viper Mini, including weight reductions, full reviews of latency tests, all kinds of stuff. So check out my other videos. I'll catch you in the next one. See you later. Bye bye.